31 VI.
It is 17 minutes past 7 o'clock. I'm William Terite for Wednesday, the 1st of October. Talofa Koto, welcome in. Now, the government's refusal to recognise Palestinian statehood has lit a fire under opposition parties. Labour, the Greens and Te Pāti Māori are all condemning the decision, calling it cowardly, colonial and an embarrassment on the world stage. But is it pragmatism or is it controversial? At a time when the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepens, what role should New Zealand ultimately play? Here to tell us more about that and much more in politics is Labour MP Lemauga Lydia Sosene. Talofa Koto, welcome in.
Talofa, kia ora, and thanks for the opportunity to make some comments this morning.
Appreciate it as always. Look, let's go there first. I mean, it's a few days on since this happened, but the fallout or questions continue to be raised about it. The government's decision not to recognise Palestinian statehood, what's Labour's position on it all?
Well, Labour absolutely disagrees with the position that this coalition government has taken. It puts us on the wrong side of history, and the fact that we have many supporters siding with the Palestinian in terms of what's happening over there are very distraught. And the fact that New Zealand has taken, or Minister Peters has not taken, and Christopher Luxon has not taken the opportunity to voice out what many New Zealanders, or even just to be consulted, does not put New Zealand in the right side of history.
Do you accept that this perhaps goes against, Labour Party is traditionally the home for Pacific voters, right? Do you think that this position that the Labour Party is taking goes against what Pacific voters perhaps want to hear from the Labour Party? I make note, just for example, there are several Pacific Island nations that are against the idea of recognising Palestinian statehood.
I think, William, what is important is for New Zealanders to be consulted. And look, I take on point that we've got many relationships, strong relationships with our Pacific nationhoods. However, those of us living in New Zealand have, particularly in Labour, we have made our position very clear. What is important to New Zealanders, Pacific countries, and those who are living in New Zealand is why were we not consulted? Why is the leadership? It seems that there are different positions. However, Labour's strong point is that we are hearing loud and clear from New Zealanders, particularly Pacific members in New Zealand. And it's important for our community to actually be heard. So when you've got Minister Peters on the world stage saying a different perspective, and New Zealanders have been lobbying Labour MPs all week, we've heard from many, actually all year, of the distraught of what is happening in Gaza. And so from a humanitarian perspective, it's really important that those positions in terms of what is happening over there, Labour members feel very strongly that the government has made the incorrect choice at this point in what's happening over there.
Some of the criticism and commentary online is that the decision and the position that Labour is taking, some asked why was it not taken sooner when Labour was last in government. What do you say to comments like that?
Look, it's important for Kiwis to have their say, but we are not a government. We have a strong position and we've been very careful. Chris Hipkins has been very careful to inform our community. Labour MPs are being lobbied for quite some time now, and we certainly have members such as Phil Twyford, who is our lead spokesperson. He is being talked to by many, many Kiwis. And whilst there could be criticism against the stance that Labour takes, we've been very clear, William, in terms of our position, and we just do not agree with the position that the government has taken.
Sure. Look, let's turn our attention to oil and gas exploration. Of course, as highlighted last week, the coalition has reopened oil and gas exploration. And I see that even cheekily, the Prime Minister sent a letter to your leader, Chris Hipkins. What's the Labour Party's position?
Look, we don't agree. It's pretty clear that the government just is not interested in hearing from New Zealanders about gas, oil and gas exploration. And what is important is, from my understanding, is Prime Minister Luxon didn't have much time to send to our leader, Right Honourable Chris Hipkins, for a bipartisan approach. But you would have thought that that kōrero, that talanoa would have happened much sooner, given the fact that we stand with what New Zealanders are saying. And so when we're back in government, we will be doing the right thing in bringing the ban back in, because the fossil fuels need to stay in the ground. And so we've been really clear in terms of the environment. We're wanting environment protection and oil and gas exploration. Whilst this government is very strong in their position, they've made many announcements and they're continuing their work. Again, we do not agree with the position that the government is taking. And for the fact that Prime Minister, when he's asking our leader for a bipartisan approach, you would have thought those discussions or talanoa would have happened much sooner than such a short time before an announcement has been made.
Well, it's all rather rich, isn't it? We had Winston Peters last week at the UN talking about climate change and, the big four emitters in the world and how we need to perhaps be doing more. Then on the domestic front, he's all for this oil and gas exploration. I mean, I see New Zealand First material all the time that says drill, baby, drill. What do you make of the two different stories that we seem to get from, say, the leaders in government?
Well, New Zealanders have an opportunity, but also want to see their leaders being consistent. Mm-hmm. New Zealanders also are telling us that they want to be consulted, that you have our leaders going on world stage, making a number of statements that are out of touch with New Zealanders' views. New Zealanders want to be heard. So there's been a number of announcements that have been made by the leaders of this country or the government of this country. And certainly when you've got Minister Peters, but then you've got Prime Minister Luxon, what does that tell you? That there's different positions and who is actually talking to Kiwis? And so we're receiving letters, emails, even when we go out in the community. Kiwis are very angry at some of the decisions that are being made, but they are not being consulted.
Mm. And speaking of, just very quickly, the government is poised to announce its response to the electricity market review today. It's a review, just basically the government's response to this review that I think took place last winter. But, we've had reviews before. We had a review into the supermarket duopoly. I mean, do you think these reviews actually lead to anything tangible?
Can I just say reviews are important, especially when government is sanctioning policies or introducing new bills. We know, William, that the cost of living is skyrocketing. And what is important is when reviews are taken or bills are being introduced in Parliament, what are Kiwis actually saying? So there's a number of legislation being introduced, and when you do industry reviews, they are important because that is the data or the evidence, but then you make a different announcement. So it's important that this government cannot keep being out of touch with Kiwis. Cost of living is skyrocketing. People are complaining about electricity, about groceries, about putting petrol in their cars, and also the costs for young New Zealanders going to school, tertiary education, etc. So all I'm trying to point out is the tools that government have at their fingertips. When you're going to introduce a bill, you would have thought a lot of consultation, reviews, evidence that is being presented to support the different pieces of legislation or reports that are being received by government.
Mm. Let's just turn our attention to local election turnout. I mean, so far, local election turnout is scraping the floor, especially in areas that, you'd well know, South Auckland, heavily Pacific areas. What do you make of that?
It's a tough time for Kiwis. It's a really tough time for Kiwis. And in neighbourhoods like Mangere, like South Auckland, people have got their priorities, cost of living priorities. So they're working hard. Many people have lost their jobs, William. And so it's a difficult time. Local government elections are really important in local decision making. I know, I was there. When you have a low voter turnout, what does that tell you? People have got their attention in other places because they're trying to make a living, they're trying to feed their family. But local elections, I want to continue to promote that the local elections that close on the 11th of October, Saturday at noon, it's really important for our community, for our residents who can vote, to use their vote, to look at the representatives that are before them, What are they promoting? What are they promising? And as you know, we've got a very strong Labour team of candidates that are putting their voices forward, that are putting their names forward. I really want to encourage our community to use your vote, because that is the best way to have your say in local elections.
Mm. And as you highlighted, I mean, for South Auckland particularly, it is a Labour stronghold, particularly at local candidate level. But in terms of low voter turnout, do you think Labour takes for granted the Pacific vote? And is low turnout partly a verdict on your own record in local areas?
Oh, look, we take nothing for granted. Can I just say we cannot take anything for granted? The low voter turnout, I just think that some of our community, and I know because we've done phone banking, we've done door knocking, we've done a number of things in terms of connecting with our community. But some of our community just find it quite difficult to understand local government policies. So that's roads, rates, rubbish. That's local libraries. That's Auckland Transport, local bus routes. Unless you have kanohi to kanohi, you actually sit down with some of our community, and some of them don't make the reference that actually my local library is funded by local rates, but also it's the job of the Auckland Council. So it's a little bit hard. You've got to remind our community when you go to the doors, when you're calling them, that actually it's about your roads, it's about your rates, it's about your rubbish. And I think part of the low voter turnout could be that all of the candidates just have to continue to educate and to help people understand why their vote is important. It's also a little bit harder because, William, it's a postal vote.
Sure.
When people think about voting, they're used to central government where you turn up to a polling booth, and the local government is quite different because you receive your form, you read the information, you fill it out, and then you post it. And so just that mechanism is a little bit different, in our communities with different languages and diverse are more used to central government voting. So I'm just going to continue to encourage where I can the local community to use their voice, to use their vote.
Labour MP Lemauga Lydia Sosene, thank you very much for your time as always. Have a wonderful day.
Me taki ma'ata, William, Ba'atai tele. Have a wonderful day.